This is Carol Siri Johnson, and I'm here to give this lecture today on oral presentations because I find myself making it over and over again every semester. It's about fear. When you speak in front of 20 or 30 or 100 people, you probably feel fear. There are a few people who don't, but they're the exception rather than the rule. And this lecture is for you too, if you're one of them, because there's other things that you fear. Fear is your friend. I know this is odd to say, but fear is actually just a chemical, adrenaline, in your bloodstream. It makes you feel sick, but remember, it enters your bloodstream and then it leaves, so it goes away. It's not going to kill you. In fact, it'll probably help you survive. And what it allows you to do while it's in your bloodstream is to perform well, to go above and beyond the call of duty, to soar like an eagle, to give superb performances, or sometimes just to survive. One way that fear can help you is to provide focus. Because you have the fear, your attention to task is complete and you're blanking out distractions. When my fiancé drives in bad conditions, he turns down the radio and he asks everyone to be quiet so he can listen, so he can watch the road. This is an example of what fear does. Fear enables you to concentrate on the task on hand and to blank out all other distractions. I know this because I used to play piano and I used to give the little typical concert recitals with the other students in front of all the parents. And when I did this, as I was waiting my turn, I would sit there and I would feel uncomfortable, increasingly uncomfortable the closer my turn came. I would feel butterflies in my stomach, I would feel my heart racing, and then suddenly, when it was my turn, I'd get up on the stage, I'd sit down in front of the piano, and I'd go on autopilot. I remember one concert where everyone complimented me afterwards because it hadn't fazed me when a string broke on the piano and that key stopped working. The reason it didn't faze me was because I was on autopilot and I didn't even notice it. I once went to see Sarah Vaughan, a famous jazz singer, in a club in the village. Just before the concert, I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, there was an older black woman leaning against the wall, heaving, breathing deeply. She looked like she was about to faint. Because this was New York, I just went back to my seat and sat down. A couple of minutes later, she came out of the bathroom, her head held high, and she walked up onto the stage. This was Sarah Vaughan. At that point, she was known as one of the greatest living jazz singers. She'd been performing for 30 or 40 years, and she still had to go through this experience of fear every time before she got up and sang. I don't know how many performers go through this before they get on the stage, but I think it's a lot. Fear is that necessary evil that can help you achieve your ends. My most detailed memory of fear is when I learned that my daughter has type 1 juvenile diabetes. When I heard that, I could feel it start in my heart, sort of a tingling, and then it traveled down my arms, the tingling, all the way through my veins to my fingers. That's fear. You feel fear fairly often in different situations for different purposes, and it usually reacts differently for different people. I have a friend who sailed in the America's Cup race, and if the water was choppy and the winds were high, before the race, every time he would lose everything they'd eaten for the past couple of days. Recently, I gave a talk to my professional association that I knew my career depended on. I was new in the field, I was already old, I needed to get tenure, and I needed to write a book to do that. I knew there were publishers in the audience. Consequently, as I sat there waiting for my turn, I felt the usual butterflies in my stomach. I felt sick. I felt like I was going to die. I felt like I was going to throw up. And then suddenly it was my turn, and I went up to the podium, and I went on autopilot. And I don't, to this day, even know what I said, but everyone enjoyed it very much, and they even laughed. I got a publisher, my book is published, and I have tenure. In conclusion, you can try to avoid fear during your life. You can try to avoid those painful situations. But I recommend that you just get used to it. I think a good deal of how successful you'll become in the future depends on how well you tolerate fear. Start practicing now and get comfortable with it. Fear is physically and chemically a part of us. Make it familiar. Make it your friend.